And I just remember a motorbike pulling up, revving, and I just knew straight away, as the motorbike's got to the corner, the first shot's gone off, pap, pap, about 20 shots gone off. But I'm in front, I'm standing here, my brother and my other good friend are behind me, so they've taken all the shots. I've managed to get to the bottom of the hill and get away. But the first shot got my brother right in his Achilles, so it's dropped him straight at the top of this hill. But I'm already on the phone to the ambulance. And I said to them, my brother's dead.
You're right, Lewis, how are you?
I'm all good, pleasure to be here.
Could you tell me what your childhood was like?
Yeah, my childhood, it was all right. Had my dad in and out of prison majority of the time growing up. I grew up in Battersea, South London, but I actually enjoyed living around the estate. I used to get in trouble quite a lot, you know, just playing out on the estate is causing havoc, like smashing car windows and breaking into things and that, you know. Didn't have much of a schooling, really. I was in and out of school, either getting suspended or bunking off. I was always getting moved around as well because I got moved to the countryside, so I was always jumping from one school to another, which didn't help. I was always being disrupted, you know.
So you said your education, was that pretty much, how was that?
I didn't leave school with any GCSEs. I probably spent about 2 years in secondary school, so I didn't get much of an education whatsoever.
What about girlfriends growing up?
Girlfriends? I've literally, before this girlfriend, I've had 2 girlfriends before this one. Wasn't great. This one seems to be doing a good job at the minute, so it's a thumbs up at the minute.
And then how did you get involved in the life that went so wrong?
Do you know what? Growing up, I've always looked up to my dad. I've always looked up to my dad to be like a superhero or a Superman. He's always provided, Christmases, birthdays. I've always got everything I've ever wanted. The only thing is, he was always in and out of prison from armed robberies and other things, other firearm charges and that, you know. So it kind of didn't help having dad in and out. But like I said, I never ever went without.
So what was your first crime?
My first ever crime, I think I was 14 years old and I got accused. I got accused of someone hit my football manager in the head with something. And I got the blame for it and got nicked and charged, went to court, got a not guilty at court, thank God. And after that, I started dealing in cannabis. Only small things like £10 and £20 draws and stuff around the estate, just riding around on my pedal bike and that. Then things started to get big, you know. Like I said, I looked up to my dad. A lot of my other friends are doing armed robberies and robberies. So I started doing robberies myself. And my first time getting nicked for robbery was a cash and transit van in Streatham. I got 3 years for that one. He was actually going to fill up an ATM machine inside the station. So as he's going in the station with the cassette, I followed in behind him with my Cody, and we've grabbed the cassette. But at the time, a lot of the train stations were on high alert. I'm not sure what was. I think some tube bombings and bus bombings were going off maybe that month. I can't remember now. Anyway, there's loads of police already in there. I've taken the cassette, but there's already 20-year-old bill in there with firearms. But at this time, I've got the cassette already in my hand, so I've grabbed it and started running. They've gave chase. I've had to throw the cassette at them and start running. It's not until I got all the way back to the car. I managed to get away from the police, mind you. Got away from the police, got back to the car. My driver wasn't in the car. So as I got back to the car, I'm like, where is the bloody driver? He's over there having a piss. So I've had to carry on running because the police are still chasing us. I've got to the end of this road, and I remember a police van is coming in behind me. And I just looked at my Cody and said, just go guilty, mate. As we're in handcuffs, the actual driver, my getaway driver, drove past us as we was in handcuffs. I was just thinking, you fucking dickhead. Anyway, we got 3 years, went to Feltham. We only done half of that, so we would have done 18 months in Feltham. Went on a, what's the induction wing called? Kingfisher. And from there we went to Raven. From there I got shipped out to another prison called Portland. That was a quite rough prison, you know. I was 18 years old. Portland was quite a rough prison. Like I said, I'd done 18 months, come out. I think I lasted about 10 months because I got back into selling cannabis again. So I remember I was in my house. My pal was outside my gates. I used to have a gated house. So he's come to buy, I think, 2 ounces of weed or something like that. But I'm on Obbo now. The police are watching the house. I remember just putting my hand through the gate. to hand over the drugs, and he handed me over the money. And then anyway, he's gone about his business, but I don't know, he's literally been pulled up round the corner by the police, stopped, searched, they found it. By this time, my uncle's already phoned me and said, Lou, the police have got your pal outside the house. I think they just strip searched him. So I know they must have just watched that transaction. So I'm packing loads of weed into my duffel bags. I've managed to get out of my house, run across to the opposite block, put all the drugs down. And then I remember getting nicked literally the day after, and they'd done me for supply, whereas my friend got done for possession, got a £70 fine. I got 10 months in prison for supplying cannabis.
And how old was you at this stage?
I probably would have been 20 now.
And then how long
Maybe
did you get
21.
sentenced for this crime?
So I'd done 10 months. I'd done 10 months in prison for that. But while I was in prison as well, I got charged for something else, for a lot bigger case. But that's something I'll go into another day maybe. So yeah, I come back out of prison, would have been maybe 2007 now, early 2007. I just started to get back on it again, started selling drugs straight away. By this time, me and my brothers both doing well. We both got nice cars, nice chains on. There's a lot of gang activity around these times and that as well, you know. We was in a gang called like Old Tray 1 or G Street. Like we literally covered the whole of Battersea, some parts of Stockholm and Brixton. So a lot of the shootouts we would have had would have been with the Brixton lot. There would have been like one road separating us. So like I've got quite a few friends now all in prison doing like 30-year sentences and 20-year sentences for these shootings. And I've also lost some friends to gun violence and knife crime and things like this, you know. My brother's been shot 5 times. Like, I was there when he got shot. So imagine we're walking, it's a summer's night, so my brother's in these like flip-flops, we're walking shop. And I just remember a motorbike pulling up, revving. And I just knew straight away, as the motorbike's got to the corner, the first shot's gone off, pap, pap. About 20 shots have gone off. But I'm in front, I'm standing here, my brother and my other good friend are behind me, so they've taken all the shots. I've managed to get to the bottom of the hill and get away. But the first shot got my brother right in his Achilles, so it's dropped him straight at the top of this hill. But I'm already on the phone to the ambulance. And I said to them, my brother's dead, can you come and pick me up? Because the amount of shots that went off, I thought, he's got to be dead from that. So I'm already on the phone, please come and get my brother, he's dead. Put the phone down. And then as the bike's pulled up right next to my brother, now they've actually got off the bike and continued to shoot my brother. But when they continued to shoot him, I heard, oh. So I realised he's still alive. So I was just thinking, please, bike, just drive off now. As it's drove off, I've run straight up to the top of the hill, started pulling my brother's clothes off him. I put my hands over the holes, like there's on his lower back, his bum, down his legs. So I was trying to cover up the holes into the ambulance and that got there. And you know what, to this day, I've not even really had much help for that, you know. I've never been asked, am I all right? What's been going through my head since? But I'm on a course now called CBT, so I go and see them once a week for my PTSD. But it just comes and goes. I don't like motorbikes. And I've got this thing where I'm forever over my left shoulder. Like, it's never my right, I'm always over my left shoulder now. I don't know why. It's not until early 2013, I was part of an armed robbery, which took part with my Cody, which was my dad. So it was a cash in transit robbery. They're actually filling up a cash machine. So like 2 weeks before the robbery took place, I remember going to watch this robbery. I was thinking, yeah, it's in a nice little location. The fella delivering the money was some little tiny fella. I was thinking this is going to be lovely, easy. But 2 weeks after the robbery took place, I've gone there to go and do it now. The geezer who got out of the transit was a lot bigger than I first thought. I was like, this is going to be a problem. He's massive. So anyway, I've got out of the car. I've got a gun in my hand anyway, so I think it's sweet. It's all going to be good. Got out of the car now. I stuck the gun to this fella, and the first thing he done, he swung for me. So my natural instincts was to just gun buck him, which I did, and I caught him right under his helmet. But when you got tunnel vision and you're a bit scared, you don't realise how much times you hit someone. So I've actually knocked him out, and I've had to like pull him off the money and then get back into the car. Got back into the car, got away and stuff. I got nicked like a week later. But the evidence was really weak. It's loads of like circumstantial bits of evidence which all started kind of slowly come together, and I got charged 9 months later. So the evidence they had on me was 2 weeks before the robbery. They had my car in the area, driving in convoy with the car that is used. You couldn't tell me it was me in it or whatever. Then they had me spending loads of money at Bicester Village. I wasn't spending loads of money. I spent 1,200 quid on some clothes for the kids. And obviously I got previous for cash in transit, so my dad's got previous for armed robberies and that as well, you know. So that was enough for them to give me a guilty. But I went not guilty because I felt it is proper circumstantial. You didn't find the gun, you didn't find no money, you found no DNA in the car that was used, and you didn't know what colour the arm robber was. So I thought, I'm good, I'm going home from this. So when they gave me a guilty, I was like, no, they've done me dirty here. And especially when they handed out the sentence, obviously I've ended up with a 16-year prison sentence, whereas my dad got an 8.5-year life sentence. So when they said, Lewis Clark, please stand, I sentence you to 16 years, I couldn't quite believe it. I thought they made a mistake. So I stood up and said, who, me? I looked behind me like they must be on about someone else right now, you know? And obviously my dad was happy with his 8.5 because he's just literally finished the 10.5 for armed robbery previous this one. And then they brought us back to court about 3 months later for a confiscation order. So I've ended up with another year for some money. So I ended up with 17 years altogether. You know, so I served 8.5 years out of it in prison. I started in Highdown, done my first 3 years in Highdown from like 13 until 16. Then 16 to 17, I went to Colney for a year. Then they moved me out of there to Onley for just over 3 years. Then eventually I got to open conditions, is like where you're well behaved and you're preparing you for your release. So I've ended up there. So yeah, I've been out for like just coming up to 9 months now.
What would you say your worst memory in prison was?
Oh, do you know what? I was in a situation, like I said, a lot of my friends were involved in gang activity and stuff, and there was a lot of gang stuff going on. I remember on one occasion going onto another wing, I've gone into this cell with my 2 pals, and they've had this fella's head down the toilet. They had this fella's head down the toilet, there's rib shotting him, and they kept flushing the chain like it's choking him. I was like, no, as much as I hated like the other side, as we call him them days, I was thinking, I still had a heart, I was thinking, nah, man, that's just wrong. Like, at the time, I was thinking, fuck him. But it's not into thinking about it, it's like, nah, it's wrong, you know. But that is the worst situation. Like, I punched literally 2 people in the face that whole entire sentence as well. So I done pretty well to get through it, you know.
And when you come out, what was the biggest change? Because that's a long time to be away. What was different?
Well, for one, I left 2013 with my BlackBerry, and I come out and there's iPhones and these Samsung Galaxies and that. So I just started to get used to how to operate these phones and stuff. And at the same time, I left my daughter when she was 2 years old. So knowing how to deal with a 2-year-old to dealing with an 11-year-old was absolutely mad. Attitude, dad this, dad that. So I'm still learning to be a dad again. I'm still adjusting to certain things, even public transport I'm getting used to. I just started driving again. And even like just putting myself on camera, you know, I still get a bit of PTSD. I like keep looking over my left shoulders every now and again. And I don't like motorbikes. A lot of people come out of prison would say the same thing. They hate the keys jingling. I hate keys jingling. Don't do that near me, please.
And what would you say is the worst memory of your life outside of prison?
My worst memory is putting my mum through a lot, you know. Like, my mum, she's had me in prison, my older brother, my dad in and out of prison his whole life. Like, we put her through a lot of stress. She went through a lot of depression, mental illnesses, and a lot of that I do put down to us lot, you know. You know, like, always leaving her, and she's probably used to us, like, providing, and to be taken from her life, it wasn't easy for her, you know, and she went to, like, mental hospitals and things like that, you know. She's doing so much better now, and a lot of it was down to us, so I'm forever apologising to her, man. Like, keep getting the door kicked in every other week and stuff.
In your life now, Lou, what would be considered a good day?
A good day? Mate, do you know what? I don't know. I still get my good days and bad days. A good day for me is if my daughter actually messages me, say, Dad, what you up to? Like, just to make me feel a bit more appreciated and wanted. That's the only person I really look for recognition from now, you know, is my daughter.
And what would be considered a bad day?
I still get my days when I don't even want to wake up in the morning. I still get them days. As much as it looks like I'm having fun on Instagram and stuff like that, I still get a lot of days whereas I go to sleep thinking, I don't even care if I wake up in the morning, you know? And by that I mean it's never wake up. So I still get them days, and I think we all do, but some worse than others. So I'm still working on them sort of things.
And where do you see yourself in the next 5 years?
I'll be honest, I really want to be on telly. Like, I'll be honest, I've got no acting skills, but if there's ever a part where someone needs me to come and play a prison part or anything like that, I would happily do it. I'd love to be on telly, like a TV panel doing something or some sort of survival programme. I enjoy interacting with people now, you know, and like talking about our stories and that.
And what would you say is your biggest regret of your life?
Leaving my daughter, man. Leaving my daughter. That little girl, man. Every little girl needs their dads, man. That was absolutely heartbreaking. I get so upset always thinking about how I just left her as that little 2-year-old girl. Now she's in secondary school now, with an attitude.
And if you had one wish, Lewis, what would that be?
Stick in school and would have got an education. Because I know I'm a lot better than what I am. I know I could have achieved so much. I just wish I'd just done things differently, you know. My dad always used to try and push like work onto me, go get a trade, Lou, go college, do this. But for me, it was kind of hard hearing them things when you're not doing that. So like, if my mum and dad were going to work every day, then maybe I'd grow up and think, do you know what, I'm gonna go to work every day. But at the same time, I had this conversation with my friend. Like, even if my dad wasn't doing armed robberies, but all my friends I hang around was are always going to be an armed robber? Like, I think possibly. I'm not too sure. That's one I can't really answer. So you can't blame all these excuses on my parents not working or anything like that, because I think I was always going to go down that road anyway, you know.
And how do you feel about all the crimes that you have committed, looking back?
Oh, yeah, I regret, I've got nothing to show for it. Like, as a kid selling weed, I used to have quite a lot. I had a nice car, I had a lot of jewellery. I've got nothing to show for none of it now. I'm not even, like, driving at the moment, you know. And a lot of people are hurt in the process. Like, armed robberies, like, you don't plan on anyone getting hurt. Like, but at the same time, you're still scared the life out of someone. These people going to work 9 to 5, it's a normal day job for them. I'm probably made them scared to go back to work ever again now by pointing a gun in their face.
Do you reckon that affects you as well?
Yeah, a little bit. It's only because I see the one I went to prison for was actually on telly. They put it on Judge Rinder's Crime Stories. So it's not until I see the victim and his wife and he was talking about what they went through after. I instantly regretted it. I was thinking, I didn't even realise how many times I hit the fella because his teeth come out. I thought I only hit him once, but when the evidence come forward, it's like 5 or 7 times. But you don't realise this when you're in a little panic, do you? Yeah, no, I just want to try and do things different this time and that, you know. Like, Dad should be coming home soon. Dad's just waiting for his parole. But yeah, like I said, I'm still getting help for a lot of things. That situation where my brother got shot, I'm still dealing with that. Even there's another occasion, the bouncer got shot in his head.
What happened there?
It's in the same location where my brother got shot as well. Like I said, there's a lot of gang activities going on back then. I think it's 2007 maybe. Yeah, the bouncer was all outside the little pub. They started shooting from down that way. I'm standing there, bouncer's there, he's got one through the head and everyone's just walking over his dead body, jumping over the bar and that. I think someone else got shot in the leg that day as well. There's a lot of things what I didn't deal with at the time where I should have. They've caught up with me.
And is there anything you want to say before we finish?
No, I really appreciate the invite and that, man. Appreciate you reaching out. You seem like a nice fella yourself as well. But listen, if there's any acting roles, you lot get at me and just make sure you shout me on the socials and that as well, man.